Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to another installment of the Quickview series. This one, another one in that subset about which I think I am least qualified. That is tires basically smaller than 110 millimeters. Let's say 100, smaller than 110 millimeters. So class 1s and below, including the like class 0s, I understand that we basically do the same sorts of things, but at the same time, I've instituted restraints and restrictions onto it, and I'm still coming to grasp with that. So the protocol on which we test the class 1s is still evolving. We've pretty much got the class 2 and the class 3 test protocols finished up. We don't, because there's so much variation, no belting, no ribbing, really quite a thick carcass, probably close to 2 millimeters. Oh, by the way, burying the lead, General Grabber AT, not to be confused with the General Grabber other one, the 465 one. They have a completely, very evocative of like a BF Goodrich KO2. But this is a scale tire because the General Grabber is an actual tire. 4.19, 1.4, 1.9 inch rim. So foams are always a question. This is the foam that came in this tire. It is about the right size vertically, and it is really power stuffed in there widthwise. And as soon as I saw the outrageous narrowness of it, my first thought goes to the green silicone, which is generally a little bit too soft, but not when you're talking about a carcass that's 2 millimeters thick. Whatever advantage we can try to provide to a tire, we're going to do that. Also, this is definitely worthy of mention. If you are in the process of or attempting to run a silicone, and you put that silicone in the tire and the inside doesn't look like that, if you've got wrinkles or crinkles or bumps or anything like that, it means that silicone does not fit in that tire. The tire is too small for the silicone. And because these are so narrow, they fill out the sidewall perfectly. That's great, because the silicone is often the savior. Our non-stick silicone savior, because prior to testing this, I don't think that there's any real chance of me making any kind of recommendation that you go out and buy these. But you may have purchased an Element RTR of one flavor or another that came fitted with these. So there's every chance in the world that you have them in a box, bin, or basement, and if we can get any kind of reasonable performance out of them, simply by fitting them with silicone inserts, which on Amazon are usually about $15 for a set of 4, then I consider that an objective win, because the inserts are significantly cheaper than the tires, which is how it should be. If we can only improve the performance of a tire by introducing some kind of bespoke, custom printed, 3D printed insert, that doesn't speak tremendously well for the tire. That honestly feels okay. Our test platform is not super heavy, but he does run a hard body, because I figure if it's class 1, it needs to be a hard body. 104, which is a little on the small side. That is 4 1/16. So we're pretty small, and width-wise, really quite narrow. 37. If that's what you're into, 104. 104 millimeters. That, class 1 is supposed to be, what, 106, 107, right in that range? We're talking a few millimeters. So our test platform is mostly Element. It went through a long and arduous process of fitting this body to it, because as I said, if it's class 1, it's going to be a hard body, right? And if it's going to be this hard body, it's going to have that sub 12-inch wheelbase. And arriving at this sub 12-inch wheelbase took far more work and money than I would have hoped to get it to where it is. But I guess that's a class 1 thing. I keep saying it, I'm not a class 1 guy, and I say that in the same sentence as saying that we have like 5 vehicles here fitted with class 1 size tires, 108 and smaller. So I guess in some aspects I kind of am a class 1 guy. It's early in the morning. Let's get those settled in. I'll give it to them this. They look good. They straight sidewall. That is an attractive tire on there. The problem is, whatever Element calls their compound, whatever the name of it is, it has never been, nothing we've ever tested in whatever they call their compound has been really remarkable in any way. As far as I'm concerned, and your results may vary elsewhere, there is a small handful of class 1 tires that should be bought, and just buy one of those. Class 1 megalithics, class 1 tusks, Durtrax pivots, mallets, RC 4-wheel drive scramblers, class 1 Baja claws. It's very small. I don't expect to break into that group with these. But if they can be at least decent, I figure that will be a win on the day for the Grabber ATs. So we'll head out to the rocks, and today's the day. Today is the day where we're gonna smack the protocol around a little bit, and we're gonna test some different spots, because we don't do self-righting maneuvers. The side hill test that we do is far too severe for anything running a hard body on it. Well, not anything, but any class 1 vehicle running a hard body is not going to like the side hill. We've got some different spots to check. We're going to bounce around a little. And we're going to see if we can't I'm going to have a little checkboard with me, and we're going to see if we can't 1-2 punch this. If we can't take out the General Grabber AT 4 and 1/16 inches tall, which is under 4.1. That's 4.0625. And see if we can't suss out the forever for now protocol for testing class 1 tires. We're going to find 10 stations that test 10 things. So let's go do at least part of that. Getting any tire, regardless of the height, to fit under these fenders is kind of always a trick. So that super squared shoulder on these, we get properly pirate shippy. I see exactly where it's hitting, and I know exactly why it's hitting, but they looked okay. Like, it's one of those. There's very nearly enough forward drive. There's still a reasonably low level of compression on the tire. See this, we're fish hooked. It's in between the front links. And class 1 as a life pursuit, I will never understand. So the most I can hope is that you'll see something that will make you say, oh, okay. Right there, pretty solid right there. It's about, you can't pick your own line. You have to pick the line of the tire. Will it? No. every Class 1 tire I've tested so far, with the exception of a couple, has been a proper, oh my God, this is not enjoyable as an experience. How do people do this? I'm having an existential crisis. What would a tire test be if it didn't have an existential crisis in it? I don't enjoy this at all. I was trying to incept myself. I was trying to incept myself into thinking, well, if we set it up such that we're trying to figure out how to operate the protocol, then maybe we can get something out of these tires. But I don't want to try to maintain an illusion. This size tire is... The size of the tire is terrible. I do not like them. It is this enforced limitation that no one should run these tires. Period. Because if you're already going to subject yourself to this kind of... This is a hair shirt. This is a hair shirt as a tire. And I mean it as the class. Class 1 is intentional self-flagellation. You're beating yourself up. So if you're going to beat yourself up, then comes the question. Because I can only think of these things in terms of someone who enjoys driving toy cars. And while I understand self-limitation, not desiring to inch ever closer to the crawler's paradox, where the question mark still questions loud is this: how far do you extend that abuse of self? Like, I can't imagine that you voluntarily choose a tire that itself offers modest to mediocre levels of grip. I don't, like, you don't do that. That's not done on purpose, right? You choose the tire size, perhaps for the scale appearance. Like, these look good. And I do think, can we swing this around? Okay, they're not awful. In terms of many tires, what the tire is made of is the worst aspect of it. Getting compound right is step one. And I don't think it's out of the question to say that 50% of tires fail at that, of tire manufacturers fail at that. They get the compound wrong. Then you take the 50% that got the compound right, and then they don't know how to make the physical construction of the tire cooperate with the compound that they chose. Carcass is too thick. Carcass is too thin. Sidewall is too thin relative to the carcass. Carcass is just too thin overall. We don't have the proper amount of lug spacing, or the lug height is not correct. We made the lugs too large for the thickness of the carcass or the thickness of the sidewall. That gets wrong 50% of that time. So we've now eliminated 75% of tires. And then of the remaining 25% of tires on the market, some of them are what I would call lost in translation. Baja Pro X, king of 1-1 rock crawling. Look how good they are. They don't really work when you scale them all the way down, at least not in rock crawling terms. You need a smaller lug, but you don't want your lug too small. I don't think we could offer a more Technicolor, fully chiaroscuro illustration of does not translate to scale than, hey, how many 1/1 rock crawlers do you know that run pin tires? Just a big old pin. How many are running pins? Because pins work on anything in the scale world. But if you take a full-size real-world rock crawler and you put a tire on it with evenly spaced 2.5-inch tall rubber nubs on it, it's not going to work. It's not going to work for the same reason that I hate to be the one to break this to you, but Godzilla is impossible. I love Godzilla as much as the next guy, but you have the, what is it, the inverse square law, the inverse cube of something. Basically, when something gets twice as big, it physically big, it's, what is it, its mass goes up 4 times. So Godzilla's bones would have to be stronger than anything that has ever been conceived in order to hold him up. Godzilla could survive in the water, but then he couldn't come out of the water because blue whales survive in the water, and they're the biggest thing to have ever lived. But we, like all of the things that we interact with, are saddled with pesky old Newtonian physics. So some tires do not translate from full scale to small scale, and some tires do not translate from small scale to full scale. It is of utmost importance when designing a tire for a toy car to match as closely as possible the compound to the composition. The tire has to be the right thickness for the compound that it's made out of. Now, the compound on most OE tires, on most RTR tires, they don't really care about. We do obviously have some outliers in that. Vanquish started selling RTRs, and those come on Vanquish Red compound, which are in that second 50% that's eliminated because they got the compound right. Vanquish Red is great, but they made their tires as thin as a fingernail, so they just stretch all over the place and they have no sidewall support. So whatever Element calls their compound, soft, super soft, you know, whatever lyrical name they give it, it does match reasonably well to the thickness of the carcass, to the layout. Now, then we have the next point of potential failure, and this is where Element tires fail almost to a man, which is we're just going to grab a foam and we're going to put it inside that tire, and that foam might as well be classified as maintain product shape during shipping. Because an Element foam is never the foam where you think, oh yeah, we're gonna run this guy. So when you get that RTR out of the box and it's got grabber ATs on it and they are lackluster at best, the big portion of that is they didn't go all in on the compound. They certainly didn't even consider the foam relative to the vehicle that it's being placed on. These are the stock tires from the Zuul, not the Zuul 2, from the Zuul. And you know what? They are, by every definition that I can apply, RTR tires. They are neither great nor terrible. Immediately behind that vehicle is a pond. I don't think that is extricable without getting wet. You know what? I just lack the confidence. Here we go. Here we go. There we go. Totally had it. Totally had it. So we have discarded almost any and every notion of refining the protocol, except that's exactly what I'm doing. The only thing I'm doing right now is working on refining the protocol. What you have seen of the canyon in a typical tire test, I use about 10% of the environment here. So, because much of it is very old. The Lord here is atop one of the oldest obstacle sections that exist in the canyon. And what happened is, well, it gets too easy. So Crawler's Paradox approaches. So we either rebuild them or we just don't come back to them. But now, maybe we have a reason to come back to them. And you know what? I'm evolving too. The protocol is evolving. I'm sort of slowly figuring out how to drive over time. You know, I call it Groundhog Day. It's not that I explicitly know more than anyone else. I've just been doing it a lot, repeatedly. The difference between messing around and science is writing it down. So what we do is we write it down. And if I was going to give a score to these, and like that seems to be one of the primary things we do here, I'm not 100% sure I know exactly how to score these, because I wouldn't say go out and buy them, but I would say order yourself a set of Injora Class 1 silicones and give it a try. Class 1s can 100% get away with running the silicones because it's the smallest one. They're not remarkably heavy. The 525, let's do it. Yeah. So self-writing, if that were instituted, pretty good. And the body didn't pop off, it doesn't look like. These are, if I looked at these in terms of just RTR tires, just the gift tires that come inside of a vehicle, of a quote-unquote ready to run. You know what? I'll take the Grabber AT. The 419's kind of better than the regular Grabber. The regular Grabber gets better when cut. It needs a foam replacement, much like these did. But then you're operating in this 465 zone, which is dominated by the Canyon Trail. If you're going RTR up against a Canyon Trail, you're going to lose. I'm trying to think of any other RTR tire that is competitive. Whoop. We can get out of that. Like, they're pretty good. This is not the first instance where we've seen tires that really kind of come to life with the introduction of the silicone. The 2.2 Baja Boss from the Element, so much better on the silicone, it's hard to believe it's the same tire. These need some PSI. They need ground pressure. So if you've bought a Zuul, or is there an Enduro? Is there a Sendero that comes on these? I don't think that there is. Do these only come on the Zuul? If you've got a Zuul, you probably removed these right away. They do have a bonus point, which is they come on Element plastic method beadlocks. You can disassemble them in a matter of seconds and fit them with some nice Amazon or AliExpress alloys. That will help because you're adding a little bit of weight. If you've put a hard body on it, if you're considering building something and putting a hard body on it, dig through your bins and find your Grabber ATs. They're solidly all right. Like, look right here. That front is just holding it in. Now, are we going to get a weight transfer out? No. That's okay. That's all right. What level of restriction do you want? How deep runs your streak, and in that, the desire to sacrifice for vanity? A hard body is a sacrifice for vanity. Look how good it looks. Look how good that guy looks. It looks good. But we know a polycarbonate cab, 10 J Concepts creeps way as much as that Mojave. So you've already sacrificed for vanity. Then, more often than not, I find it happening in the folks who enjoy vehicles of this size. Then the sacrifice of tire comes next. We're already going to have less articulation. This applies to the leaf spring people as well. Then you restrict yourself again with tire size and you go to class 1s. Then I've noted one too many of the scale people that will, oh, well, that's the tire I got on my truck, so I got to get that tire. And then they restrict themselves again because that tire is more than likely, not just in the first 50% or in the second 50% of the first 50%. It's gonna be a tire. Then the compound ain't right, and you gotta precision pick a foam. If I'm gonna run class 1, and I do sparingly and begrudgingly, I'm going to fit them with the tires that I know to excel. So when we're testing class 2s and class 3s, interpolation and comparison, avoiding that is impossible. Because is this class 3 worthwhile against this other? I think nearly every tire has a place for it in the universe. The question is that place on your rig, in your closet, or in a ravine? I wouldn't throw the Grabber ATs in a ravine. I would throw $15, $16 worth of silicones at them and see what I can get. Because they're acceptable, if acceptable isn't a curse. They look all right. Shoulder's a little over square for me. But I am always refreshingly surprised to see a tire that has lug spacing this tight still do reasonably well. And there's the silicone factor right there. Because there's no weight on that high side. Can we? Can we? That's okay. Of the Element tires, of which none are remarkably good, surprising or not, I feel like these are kind of the best ones. And while I concur that faint praise is the most damning, you are the best of all the tires that aren't very good. That's still something. There's one too many brands out there that that can't say that. They don't. Oh, hey, they don't have a best of the worst. They just have degrees of worst. So if I'm the Grabber line, I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna hold on to it and take it. I genuinely almost forgot wet because I came to a conclusion, perhaps foregone some time ago, which is this tire is getting a 94. That's not horrible. It sums this tire up perfectly. The Grabber AT is not horrible. Neither is it particularly good. But I also think that depending on what your PSI is, mirror, they just fall right off. Depending on what your application is, you might be solidly okay with these, you know? Because if you're not hardcore rock, I can't do it. If you have them, pick up some green silicones. I don't think the blue ones. Pick up some green silicones and give it a try. You won't have wasted any money. Don't buy these. If you're going to buy Class 1 tires, for whatever reason, you've decided that the self-loathing has overflowed the container that's supposed to hold it, and you're like, I'm going to embrace Class 1, megalithics, tusks, scramblers, mallets, pivots. Buy the ones that are, and the list is very short. Of the number of Class 3 tires that are serviceable, it's a lot. Of the number of Class 2 tires that are serviceable, it's a sort of a lot. And in the number of Class 1 tires that are suitable, despite the fact that there is more of them, RC 4-wheel drive almost specializes in it. And the number of them worth buying, you can really almost count on one hand. So if you have these and they've been removed from your Zuul, or somebody gave them, however you got them, please don't buy them. But try some green silicones in them. They are, at the worst, serviceable. And that is the faintest praise I can offer. What I will offer, though, is this, my sincerest thanks for you sticking around for whatever this was. The fact that I look forward to seeing you in the next one, and I hope that in between now and when we meet again, you one and all do your very best to have a good one, everybody. We will see you again here from the Canyon. I have a drawer with more Class 1 tires to test, and honestly, I can do about one a fortnight, and that's all I have the mental strength to manage. What's the old joke? You get $1 million, but your worst enemy gets $3 million, and the guy looks at him and he goes, "Why would I turn that down? Who doesn't want $4 million?" It's kind of my relationship with Class 1 and myself. So, do your best to have a good one, everybody. We'll see you again from the Canyon with other related shenanigans.